and I'm really honoured to be talking about MiVote today to all of you, particularly the esteemed company that we have up on stage today. Before I get started, I must have done this speech 50 times around the world. But ordinarily it's for an hour, and there's usually an hour of question and answer afterwards as well. So let's see if together we can solve some world problems in 3 minutes. I'm not sure, but we'll give it a crack. Before I get started, and I talk about how blockchain mobile apps can actually reinvent democracy and bring forth a genuine democracy across the world, I'd like to ask 3 questions of you. The first question is, do you believe that any ideology or worldview actually has the answer, the solution to all of the problems that confront us? I'm not asking for an answer, just think about it. The second thing I'd like you to think about is whether or not the political systems from the countries that you come from actually represent and provide access to everybody equally. And the third thing I'd like you to ask yourself is whether or not you think the decisions of local governments genuinely reflect the will of the people. These are the challenges that we'll set ourselves at MiVote. Genuine democracy. So we started this process from an entrepreneurial perspective. I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. I've had multiple startups all over the world that I've started in solo. And we took democracy as an entrepreneurial endeavor and said if you were taking it from a UX perspective and it was a product, what are the things within democracy that are no longer working that we're going to need to replace? And what are the parts of democracy that in fact we need to bring in? What are the new elements that we now understand in a different world are much more important? So as we start looking at these things, what we learn is that democracy needs less of this. We need less ideology. We need less interest group dollars. And we need less opaqueness. And what we need more of are solutions orientations to the problems that confront us. An ability for the will of the people to always be the primary determinant of policy. And fundamentally, we need transparency. And not just transparency in who elects who and how we get the information, but as voters, you cannot have genuine democracy if the people are asked to vote on things they don't understand. So this is how we go about fixing that problem. First and foremost, our mobile application, which I should say, is actually not dissimilar to Democracy Earth and their presentation. It represented a political movement. So not a party, because parties have their own inherent problems, but we actually will be running people in the next Australian federal election in the Senate. And we're doing it on these terms. First and foremost, we're non-ideological. We do not believe that any one idea or worldview has the solution. And so what we do is we provide all members with a variety of destinational outcomes that enable them to better understand where they want us to go. The most important component of that is decoupling the idea of legislation from democracy. If you take it from a business context, by putting a bill or legislation into act, before we know where we want to go as a people, is the same as writing a contract before we know what the deal is. How on earth could you possibly do that? So what we do is we go back to the public and we say, here are a variety of destinational outcomes. Which one best represents where you would like your country to go? I'll give you a very quick example. I know I've got no time. The first is immigration. So rather than saying yes or no in a binary fashion, do you believe in this bill or that bill? What we talk about is, would you like us to take a humanitarian approach? Would you like a national security approach? Would you like a financially pragmatic approach, etc.? When we then know where the people want to go, the majority of people, we can then deal with the legislation on that basis. If the bills don't represent the outcome, how can you possibly support them? The next piece that we do, and I know I'm quite short on obvious parts of the second. Are we going? We're going? We're going. The next one very quickly is informed citizenry. So one of the things within the app is every member gets an information pack on every issue, which helps them unpack the ideas, and it's a cascading information. So you can look at the dot-pointed version, so you get a general précis, a fact sheet. You can dig deeper to get a 3 or 4 page overview, and then you can do a deep dive into the research projects and the links that helps our research team determine the frames. What's critically important about this is if you don't open your information pack, your voting right never goes on. If you are not prepared to inform yourself, your voice doesn't matter. That's a pretty contentious thing to say, but you need to think about it, it's really important. And finally, it's about the will of the people. So unlike a traditional majority, which is 51-49, at MiVote, we've created a voting system that enables us to have a 60% majority before a policy can be created. So genuinely we understand that the vast majority of our members are looking to take destination of the country, and from there, within Parliament, we can then represent those outcomes. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Make sure you come and get free coffee and free t-shirts at our stall at the other side there.
I guess what I'm most interested to know is you're talking about setting destination outcomes, creating an informational pack. We know that the way that you kind of frame options or frame questions has a huge impact on where people decide to vote and what they ask for. So how do you handle that responsibility in a way that actually remains non-ideological?
It's an excellent question. It's a question I get asked everywhere. So within
just follow up on that question. How do we know that the research that's generated is social non-biased?
First of all, it's all transparent. So every piece of research that the research team uses to frame the positions and the information packs is available to every member and the media and anybody else who wants to have a look at it. The other thing that's important is we have a policy research team that are professional researchers. And before an information pack can ever make it to the app, can be pushed out for an issue, it has to go through 3 different levels of governance and basically to ensure that there's objectivity. And that particular group is represented by really all sides of the political spectrum. And the reason we do that, so when we talk about framing issues, each issue is framed in 4 ways. So in Australia, as an example, there are effectively 3 major parties. You've got the front, the left, and the right, and the Greens, further to the left. So what you effectively have is those 3 positions represented, but not in a legislative way, in a destinational way. And then what MiVote does is then offer an alternative compromise position or different position that none of the major political players are advocating as another method of having people think through what are the alternatives. Because if you don't start from a position, what ideology does is it says, I know the answer to the problem before you even ask me a question. What we say is, let's actually understand the issue, particularly with the fact sheet, and then you as an individual are better capable of making a decision about where the country should go.
So the different forms of government in different countries, our parliamentary system is a little different than in the U.S., where you have the legislature and the executive branch. How will this system operate in that country?
Okay, so this is entirely transferable wherever you want to go in the world. And in fact, since we started the platform, we've had significant interest from South Africa and Singapore and a variety of other places to start using this. But the most significant thing is the extent to which you understand which part, and I think democracy have talked a little bit about this, but they're starting at the ground level and not the federal level. And we start at the top. So ours are federal problems. For us in Australia, it's the Senate. So we're not going to the house that writes the bills, we're going to the house that determines whether or not the bills get passed. And the reason we have that determination, so in the US, that will be the Congress on this now. So the reason we would do that is rather than us having to advocate for bills, which is just a perpetuation of the existing problem, what we actually say is, if we know that 65% of our members want to go in this direction, if the government of the day presents a bill that takes us in that direction, we'll now support it. And if the government can't get it passed because it relates to the will of our members, that's what we're on this planet for.
I guess one quick follow-up. In the example you gave about immigration, to define the different destinational outcomes, you said, do you want a humanitarian approach? Do you want a national security approach? When I hear those being framed as inherently different, it feels like it would cut off the policy opportunities that really mingle with 100%. So I'll give you one word label. It's quite extensive reviews. So, and what we would do in that example, and they might not even be the different frames, it's the research team that determines that. I'm not a professional researcher, but when they came to determine what the frames were, they would actually frame it in such a way that you would understand, if you believe in a humanitarian approach, these are the things you believe in, these are the things from a policy perspective you couldn't accept.
So you actually get a context of what it's in the policy frame, so you understand how it relates to other things. The other thing to mention is we're a non-binary system. Our voting methodology is not about choose one and only one, and we follow that. We start on the basis of here are the frames. Let us know which, you can actually say all of them if you want, which are the frames you can live with in terms of destination. So it's about extraction rather than a binary, we want this one. And in doing that, we can actually not just see where the majorities are, but where the second and third most important issues lie as well, which helps frame the negotiation around legislation.
All right. Thank you again.